Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. Today's special guest is Aimey. Aimey, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you guys?
I'm great. I'm great. Yeah, it's fall here, and it's been rainy, cloudy, cold.
Where are you at?
I'm in Canada, in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, how about
Oh,
you?
okay. I am in United States in Virginia, and it has been like the last week was really dreary, but the
Mm.
past 2 days have been nice. So nice
Oh,
fall
wow.
weather. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
thank you for having me. I'm
You're
excited to be here
welcome.
too.
Yeah, so Aimey, why don't you start by telling us who you are and what you do?
So my name is Amy. I am a life coach. Um, I work with people a little bit differently than normal life coaches. I do work one-on-one, but I'm actually in the process of launching a morning ritual community.
Hmm?
And I also offer daily prayer to people as well.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yes, you're different from other life coaches stories I've heard. And that's a good
yeah,
thing, to be
yeah,
honest, right? Imagine if all coaches were the same. How boring would that be?
right.
Yeah.
I do work, I do concentrate on self-love, a positive mindset. I think mindset work is extremely important. The
Mhm.
way we view the world is ultimately the way we're going to carry ourselves. And everybody is shaped by what they have perceived as happened in their life. Yeah. So I work with people, basically I work with professionals
Mhm.
to love themselves and to live a life of self-judgment. A lot
Mhm.
of times, a lot of my clients that have come to me have put themselves in positions to try because they feel like everybody else wants them to do these things,
Mhm.
and they're trying to build up to see like, hey, what is it that I really want? What can I start to go after? So
Mhm.
I work with my clients to find out what a fulfilling life would be for
Mhm.
them and to help them get to that.
So you said you help professionals. Is it all professionals? Anyone who needs help?
Yes, I work with an array of people. I have some clients that are um, healthcare workers. They like take care of people in their homes. I work with people that are in the head of HR departments. I work with people that work with unions. I work with all kinds of different professions. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So, Amy, did you always wanted to do what you're doing right now?
Um, Not always. When I was little, I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to argue my point. I get extremely passionate about things. So,
Mhm.
but as I got older, I really wanted to go into psychology for a little while because I think that the way people think is extremely interesting. Like
Mhm.
what makes people do the things that they do is extremely interesting to me.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to learn more about that. Um, my path kind of took a different turn. I ended up becoming a dancer, and that was not in the books or in the cards for me at that time.
Mhm.
And I learned a lot from that. I learned how to read people. I learned how to empathize with people. I I learned a lot from observing people in that environment,
Mhm.
and it also gave me insight to people's way of thinking, where they were at in their life, where they wanted to be, things like that. And when I actually started doing my own personal development journey and I started working with a coach. And once I started working with one, I was like, you know what? This is like right exactly down my alley of where I want to be. And I
Mhm.
fell in love with personal growth and just learning about why we do the things that we do.
Mhm.
And I was like, if I can share this with one person, let alone 50 or 60 or 100 or 200 or whatever, however many people, like that would make me feel fulfilled that I can share this with people and help them grow and feel more
Mhm.
full. When I first started, so let me back up a little bit. So what happened with me is that um, I grew up poor. I didn't really have any instant, or I didn't have any examples of people going to college. So I didn't even, my mom got her associate's degree and I thought that was something big. Associate's degree doesn't mean anything anymore. But so I went to school and I got my associate's degree, but I didn't go any further because I didn't have any examples of anybody doing that. Nobody was pushing me or like nudging me in that direction. And I found dancing and I made a lot of money. So I stuck with it. Well, once you get into that, it's hard to get out because by this time you have no skills because you didn't do anything. You didn't go to school or anything like that. You don't have any educational skills. And it's hard to get out of it because you're used to making so much money. There's nothing to fill that. I ended up meeting my ex-husband and I was planning to quit and I had different businesses that I owned along the way to try to get out of it. So like I owned a car show business at one point in time where I was putting on classic car shows. And that just did not like, that was actually my first business I ever did. I was super young. I learned a lot from it, but it did not go as I expected. And then I opened up a nail salon and I was teaching
That's
people
so
how to do
cool.
nails and yeah. And so that was my like exit strategy to get out of the club is that I was going to build this business up and I was going to start this. Well, about around the time that I was moving into my exit strategy, I met my ex-husband and we ended up getting married. I moved away. I sold my business and I was around a lot of people that had corporate jobs and they had their lives together and I didn't have mine together. I felt like I was all over the place. And I started to kind of shrink myself. And a couple years later, I had my daughter and after I had her, I was like, I can't stay in this place of shrunkeness and expect her to flourish. Like I'm leading by example at this point. And if I can't own who I am and stand in who I am and love myself, how am I going to teach her to do that? So that's what really started me on my personal development journey and like learning about things. And yeah, that's really how I got into coaching is because, like I said, once I found out about the world of coaching and what it did for me, like I had to share it with other people. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting the Inspiration Corner. That's the daily the morning routine group that I'm starting. The reason why I started that is because when you don't to build self-love, you have to show up for yourself. And sometimes it's hard to show up for yourself in certain ways, especially when people around you do not support you. So I built this community so that you can start showing up for your day and being intentional for your day and having a community of people that even though they're not like right beside of you, they're still there to help support you. So in this Inspiration Corner, we are actually reading, I have it right here. It's called The Dream of You by Joe Saxton. It has some Christian, it like refers back to the Bible, but it's basically talking about letting go of your broken identities and live the life that you were made for. Because a lot of times we are living for everyone else. We get our identity in what they think that they want or what we think that they want for us, and we don't live in who we are and who we were meant to be. So we're going to be reading this book. I'm actually going to read like 3 pages a day. So that way, if people are busy and they don't have time to sit down and read the book, they can listen to me read the 3 pages a day. And then I'm going to do like a morning pep talk and talk about whatever we read and give the audience a journal prompt or something to reflect on for that day, depending on what the reading is, so that they can really be intentional with themselves and what they want out of life. I feel like that right there is what is going to start building that self-confidence and that self-love because you're taking that time for yourself. And you also have like a community that is surrounding you and loving you through that as well.
So. Yeah, I love that. Is it like a group of people on a Zoom call or video or audio?
So
a group?
So it will be It will be the book reading will be just one that I go ahead and tape ahead of time, and you can click on it and listen to it, and you can see me reading it.
Yeah.
And then when I do the inspirational, when I speak, then that is going to be something that's interactive. Yes, we're actually starting out on Patreon. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to go on there,
Mhm.
go live through YouTube, and then that way I can communicate with everybody. They can kind of communicate with me as well. And then we are going to be able to post throughout the day too. Some
Mhm.
people might not be able to catch it at the same time, like different time zones and things like that. So people can go later on, take a look at it. So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really cool thing to do. And
yeah,
then
I'm
with the
super
prayer,
excited.
yeah, it sounds really cool. With the prayer, is it everyone taking turn to pray, or you have prayers that you read?
So the way that this started out
Mhm.
is I I am Christian and my boyfriend is Muslim.
Mm.
And every morning I send him a prayer. And I remember when I first started talking to him, I was like, "Hey, do you mind if we pray together?" And he's like, "Oh, my prayer doesn't necessarily look like your prayer." And I'm like, "Okay." And I I didn't know how to get around it. So I started to just send him like a today I pray God, and like go into what it is that I'm praying for him,
Mm.
and not necessarily have it more Christian or what, like, however, like it was just something from my heart that I was sending to him. And
Yeah.
after I had been doing this for a couple months, he goes, you should, he asked me one day, he's like, "Where are you getting these?" I'm like, "They're coming from my heart. Like whatever I feel in my heart, like I pray about it, and this is what's coming out." And he
Mhm.
was like, "You should write a book and put these in there."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Yeah, I can write you a book. And like after a year, I can give it to you, like all the prayers that I prayed for you for the year." And he was like, "No, no, no. I think that you should like really put it out there." And it started as a book idea, but I want it to be something that anybody can get whenever. So I actually have a gift for your audience to
Oh, nice.
of 7 days of free prayer, where they can go in and get 7 days of free prayer.
Mhm.
And how you can find that is you can go to Linktree. It's linktr.ee
Mhm.
back uh, backslash
Yeah.
Aimey Gia Aimeygia,
Mhm.
and it'll say get 7 days of prayer, and you can click on it and you sign up, and you'll start getting emails every day for the next 7 days of prayer.
Wow, that's so cool. That's really, really
Yeah.
cool. So overall, with your experience and the things you've been through, what would you say is the most important and significant lessons that you've learned?
Ooh. um Probably to have compassion for people
Mm,
and not judge people. You don't ever know what anybody's going through, or what they have been through.
yeah.
um I think that when I was younger, I thought that everything that was done against me, or
Mm,
done to me in some way. And what I realized, that most of the time, things that are going on around you and things that are people are doing around you,
mm,
it's everybody's so wrapped up in their own selves and what they're doing, that it's all about them. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
mhm,
And I love this analogy, because I think it shows how everybody thinks. If I put a dancing monkey on a table right here
mhm,
and everyone watched it, every single person would have a different point of view about that monkey.
mm,
Some people would think it was hilarious. Some people would think it was stupid. Why would you do something like that? Some people would be indifferent to it. That everybody would have a different viewpoint based on what they've gone through in their life.
mhm.
And if we take time and ask questions and understand where they're coming from and learn to understand who they are as people, they open up a little bit better too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Would you
Thank you.
say you're welcome? Would you say there are some common misunderstandings with the line of work that you do?
Um, some common misconceptions about the line. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, people who misunderstand what you do. Maybe they don't
Um,
see it the way that you do.
right. So I think that life coaching in general is kind of hard for people to wrap their head around because it's not something tangible. Like you can't see how much a life coach can change your life. You have to experience it.
Mhm,
Um, so I think that that is a big common misconception.
mhm,
People think, oh, I can do this on my own. But a lot of times we don't see where we're being negative. We don't see where faulty thinking is coming in. We don't see where we can shift our perspective just a little bit to get a desired outcome.
mhm.
And to have somebody not a life coach is not somebody that makes you do different things. A life coach is somebody that asks you questions to get you thinking about where you are and where you want to be.
Yeah.
And it's more about self exploration and guiding you to that self exploration.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And what I admire about life coaches is that they've been through what they're teaching, which
Right.
makes it more authentic versus someone who is just teaching something because they're getting paid for it. And at
Right.
times they're not able to apply it to their life. So it makes it hard for people to understand why or to connect with them. So that's what I like about life coaching.
Right. I
Mhm.
actually had somebody tell me recently, they asked me, they were like, are you certified? What have you been certified in? And I was like,
Mm,
I have not been certified. However, I
yeah.
have lived a very full life. And I think that having empathy for people
Mhm.
and not being judgmental is what makes a great coach, is because you have to be able to see things from people's perspective. And when you've lived life, when you've been through things, when you've done things, when you've experienced things, you're able to empathize and see other people's point of view and not be discriminatory or
Mhm.
judgmental about what's going on with them.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And it's just being able to sit with people where they are and not
Mhm.
trying to change them because we can try, but it's up to them at the end of the day if they
Right.
change, why they change, and what they're going to do with the change that they're going through.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely I can say from experience that people do not change unless they're ready to be, unless they're ready to change.
Yeah.
Um, I think that that's the biggest struggle when people come to coaches is they think they already have everything all planned out and
Mhm.
they think that they understand everything. But if we can take that guard down a little bit and just examine things differently,
Mhm.
um, we can get a lot farther.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So looking back, in your childhood and throughout different things that you've been through, would you change some of the things that you've been through or just keep them as they are, as they were, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I I think that everything that I've been through has made me who I am today.
Mm,
There was a point in my life where I was like, dang, I wish I would have went down this path instead of that path,
mhm,
but I would not be where I am right now. And
yeah.
obviously that's not the life I was meant to lead.
Mhm,
And I understand when, or I know that I'm on the right path and I know that everything that I've went through has been, it's going to turn out to be for the good. When I have people come to me and they're like, you're an inspiration to me. I
mhm,
see you doing this and always pushing forward and you inspire me to keep pushing forward too.
mhm.
And being that inspiration for people, being able to be that like guiding light to help them see and do better with themselves is everything to me. It makes me feel very fulfilled.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's magic in helping people and
mhm.
then watching them bloom and succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What are some routines and habits that you have, to stay on top of things and to do what you're doing?
My morning routine is first and foremost. That's
Mm.
it. Like if I do not, if I don't start my morning with my morning routine, I'm like all discombobulated.
Yeah.
And what that looks like to me is I wake up, I do my devotional, I pray, excuse me.
Mhm.
I usually read. It depends, usually it depends on the book, actually. If it's a good book, I'll read a little bit more than normal, but at least like 3 or 4 pages I read every morning. And
Mhm.
then I meditate on what I want for my life. What do
Yeah.
I want it to look like? And being extremely intentional with how I'm moving. And then I plan out my day, my week. What is this going to look like? How am I going to make sure that I get to this? And then I have I'm gonna call it a DMO, daily,
Yeah.
can't even remember what it stands for, but daily methods of operation, that's what it is, that I do every day to continue to build my business, to be
Mhm.
seen. Um,
Mhm.
that's those are my basic things that I work with every day.
Yeah.
And I always work on development too. I feel like it's extremely important for me to always be learning about coaching, about how I can grow my business, how I can get to more people, and growing myself too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What are some of your strengths and weaknesses? I mean, both, everybody has stuff that they're
right,
good at. What are you
right.
really, really good at and really, really not good at?
Well, I can tell you right now, I am not good at patience. That I am horrible. Like when I feel like things are getting close to whatever it is that I'm doing, like then I start getting really impatient. That is probably my worst thing.
Mm,
What I do really well, I feel like I'm able to inspire people really well. I love talking. I love getting in front of the camera and talking to people.
mhm.
Um, I love speaking about growth,
Yeah.
about mindset.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's those are
Those are
probably.
good things. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Have you done like speaking engagements with different
Yes.
clients, or what would you say your audience size has been?
Um, so I have my biggest audience size was I think 127 people.
Oh,
I
wow.
did it was an online event, but we went to Florida last March. It was,
Mhm.
yeah, last March. Um, and it was like it was a weekend long event, and I spoke 3 times at the event.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty amazing. I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's
And although we weren't in front of everybody, we still had like all the computers out so we could see everybody and what they were saying and things like that. So that was kind of
that is, yeah, I have, you wanna know my audience right now? 2 cats.
two cats.
My kitties, yeah,
Oh,
they're here, they're keeping me company while my kids are at school.
that's
They're
funny.
sleeping and walking, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it starts with two, right? It can only go up from there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If you could change 2 things in the world, what would it be?
Two things in the world.
Mm.
Um, wow.
Sorry, I know I do ask
Only two things.
questions,
Like
yeah.
the things that pop to my mind is this these children being abducted lately. Like I feel like it's so crazy, and the people that are getting busted for it. Like I
Mhm.
wish for safety for kids because that's especially being a mom. That's very scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think that the other thing is just divide amongst people.
Mhm,
Like I don't want to fight with people. Like I feel like everybody should just get along. Like
mhm.
love people for who they are, what they're like. Don't why I don't understand why there's so much fighting all over the world. I
There
mean, I can
is, yeah.
understand people not, I can understand why there is, but I don't like it. And if I could change it, I would.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I agree, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, so what's next in your journey? Did you write a book or you're thinking of writing one?
Um, I did not. I had thought about writing like a prayer book, like
Oh, okay.
365 days of prayer.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be a little bit more personal, and that's why I decided to do it um through the email. Eventually, I want to make it. I have to figure out the systems.
Mm,
I'm not very tech savvy, but I'm trying to figure it out. But I would really like it to be sent to people's phones so
mhm.
that they could receive a text every morning when they wake up. Like that would be my hope and what I would like to do with that.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, Does your kids, do they challenge you sometimes? Do they
Oh
teach you
yes.
lessons that you're trying
Oh
to
yeah.
teach adults?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that first and foremost, kids are a reflection of us.
Yes.
So I have noticed that when my kids get crazy, it's because I'm being a little crazy too.
Hmm.
And my daughter is 7. She's going to be 8 in February, and she calls me out all the time. Well, mom,
Oh.
how come I can't do that, but you can? And I want to say because I'm the mom, but
Yeah.
she has a point. Like, I want her to treat everyone equal. Like, how can I be discriminatory towards her? And like, whatever, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So like, if I'm telling her that it should be this one way, then I should be acting in this other way, and or acting in the same manner. So
Yeah.
I think that they definitely challenge me in
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, me too.
that.
Just seeing myself through my kids, it's a
Oh my
blessing and a
gosh.
gift, but we kind of butt heads, if that makes sense, because we're so similar. It's like,
My
no,
boyfriend,
you're not supposed to be like me.
right. My boyfriend told me, he said, our kids are the best and worst of us. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
They,
Yeah. Yeah. Who is your source of inspiration? Who made you the woman that you are today?
my mom.
Mm.
Um, my whole life, my mom got married to my dad when she was 16. She had me not even like a month after she turned 17.
Oh, wow.
And I have 2 younger sisters.
Mhm,
Um, we were poor growing up. My dad beat my mom. My mom left him when I was young.
mhm,
And I always, like, when I was in my 20s, I would always tell myself, like, I can make it through this. If my mom did it with 3 kids and no help, like, I can make it through this. And
mhm,
I think that through my whole life, I'm like, if my mom could do this, I could do this,
mhm,
because she was in a way worse position and did amazing. I feel like she was the greatest mom that I could ask for.
mhm,
Um, I would have loved for us to be rich and have everything that we needed, but I feel like
mhm.
I that was the path that I was supposed to be on, and I'm thankful that she not only helped give me motivation to be the person that I am, but just I think that she always had a good heart, and always um
Mm,
she was always fair. So she taught me that and instilled those things
mhm.
in me too. So
Yeah. Well, we have that in common. Yeah, I grew up in Haiti. Poor,
okay.
poor, poor. And yeah, my dad was an alcoholic, and my mom had to fight for us, feed us, do whatever she could to raise 5 kids.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, yeah, and it wasn't the best home to be in, the best environment as a child, but yeah, I've been through all of that, and I think at times if we allow our trauma and past or pain to mold us, then we can rise up and become better.
Right.
And I just didn't wanna be what I was from, if that makes sense. I wanted to
Oh,
be better.
definitely.
I wanted to
Yes.
be better and to do better. And that's what I continue to live by every day, just
Right.
to reach people where they are and for who they are and accept them. But yes, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I would agree with you that my mom has always told me that too. Like, I want you guys to be better and do better than I did.
Mhm,
And I see that with my kids. Like, I mean, so I know that you can relate to this hearing what
yes.
you just
Yeah,
said, but like, being growing up in the house, it was a little stressful at times because my mom was doing it all by herself. Money was very tight. I remember sitting at the table with her when I was probably in like well, probably like third or fourth grade, maybe,
mhm,
and her telling me like, hey, if you pay at least $10 to all of your bills, they can't cut your lights off. They can't do the and because at least you're making some kind of payment. And like,
mm,
that really stuck out to me. Like, at least
yeah,
if you just give them just a little bit.
mm,
And I'm like, I don't want to have to live like that. I don't want my kids to have to live like that. And
mm,
it definitely has given me a different outlook. But there
yeah,
was like
yeah.
stress that came with that too. That's what I was trying to get to. Sorry.
Oh,
And I
okay.
see myself at times um get like that with my kids. And I have to like rein myself back in, like, Aimey, this is not how you want to be towards them. This is not what you want to show them.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of brings me back down to an
Yeah.
even keel, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. You mentioned that you read. Can you
Oh,
share
yes.
with us a few books that you would recommend for people to read and why?
Um, Definitely The Dream of You.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good, a really, really good book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another one that I really like is Untethered Soul. It's
Ooh.
more of a spiritual book, but it really talks about your thoughts and like who's talking in your head. And it helps you kind of decipher your thoughts, because basically your thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which will lead to results.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are able to understand your thoughts, where they come from, what they mean,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to be able to change them and have a desired outcome.
Mm-hmm.
um those are probably my two favorite books right now.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I could name off Think and Grow Rich is awesome. um Another one that's coming to my mind is I think it's The World Is Your Sugar Daddy. That was
Oh.
a pretty good book too. Yeah. My mom actually gave me that
Oh.
book. I was like, okay. And it's a really good quick read. I think I read it in like maybe a week
Mm.
or two. Like I
Oh,
didn't want to put it down. So
oh wow, that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, those are really good books.
yeah.
Um, are they focused on mindset also, or?
Yeah, I'm very big into personal development, as I said before. So most of the books that I read, I don't really read like fiction or anything like that. It's most of the books I read are gonna like open my mind and somehow teach me
Mhm,
something, expand on something that I already know.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, they're all personal development, growing yourself.
mhm.
Think and Grow Rich is like mindset, but it's also like, yeah, I think it's more mindset than anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So how do you plan on continuing to blossom your journey and your passion in life?
um my biggest thing is just get in front of as many audiences as I can and talk to as many people as I can. The
Mhm,
more exposure I have, the more people I'm going to be able to touch. So
mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. For those who are listening and watching this interview, what are some key takeaways that you want them to have from this episode based on what you've shared?
the first thing that comes to my mind is be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. Everybody's going through stuff. Feel like, especially since COVID happened, like
Mm.
the whole world just kind of had a mental breakdown.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
be kind to people, but also um if you're struggling with self-love and self-judgment, showing up for yourself is going to help change that for you.
Mhm,
And becoming aware of when you're having these negative thoughts of self-judgment and
mm.
putting yourself down, when you become aware of them, then you can start to change them. But the first step is going to become aware of them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's so important to talk about mindset because at least for me, my mind, it's like a battlefield.
yes. And
It's, yeah,
if you let your mind just run away with things, there's no telling where you go.
mhm,
You're just kind of floating around at will.
yeah,
Um, if you if you train yourself to think the way that you want to think, you're going to get to where you want to be. A
mm,
lot of people are just kind of just hanging out and wondering why they're not progressing in life or why things aren't happening, but they're just sitting there not doing anything intentional about it either.
yeah,
So when you think about it differently, like, oh, I do have to do something, or oh, I do have to think this way, then it enables you to start on that journey of turning that view.
yeah, yeah. And also, you talked about self-love. I'm gonna
Yes.
be open and honest. I struggle with that. That makes me human, and I know lots of
Oh,
people do
yes.
as well. But what happened when people who say they love us are stripping us of our love for ourselves? I see it happening all the time in relationships, friendship, at work. People that are just draining us. What
Mhm.
advice would you have for people that are in those situations?
leave the situation. I know
Mhm.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Um, I was married to someone. We were together for 10 years, excuse me. And he was a good guy. He was a really good guy.
Mhm.
Um, Old school Italian. I mean, his parents were straight off the boat Italians, and his mindset was that a woman, like her realm is kids and kitchen. And a lot of times my opinion or my thoughts didn't have weight.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that he was a bad person, but the
Mhm.
person that I was when we met to the person that I was when I left is two totally different people. I felt like a little kid. Like if you can imagine your body, I felt like I was shrunken down into like my ankle.
Mhm.
Like that's how little I felt, because I felt like I didn't care. I didn't have any worth in the relationship, in the world, or anything.
Mhm.
Um, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I left.
Mhm.
It was hard. I live in an area that's extremely expensive, and I was just like, I cannot allow my kids to see this.
Yeah.
And not that, like I said, not that he was a bad person,
Mhm.
but he just was not a good match for me. And
Yeah.
I feel like because I was such a strong spirit and I wanted to do so many things, and I wasn't a quiet person that wanted to just sit there and
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry you
So
went through that. Unfortunately, people go through that stuff and
right,
they don't know how to walk away, or they stay for the sake of the kids and
right.
just
And it's
what
hard.
is expected of them by society or culture or norms, whatever it is. And like you said, you did you shrink yourself. I felt
Mhm.
that way, and most of us do it in different circumstances or situation. At times we know we're doing it. At times we don't know
Right.
until it's too late. Until we
Well, I
vanish
don't
and
know if
lose
it's ever too
ourselves.
late, but
Yeah, it's
um,
never too late, but it
right.
could be late to start, if I may put it that way. Late as in getting health issues from all the stress
Oh yeah.
and self-hate, right?
Right.
It
Yeah.
can happen that way.
Oh,
It doesn't
definitely.
have
Yeah.
to go that far to make a decision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Um, and to go back into that, like, yeah, I definitely can attest to all of that. And it is
Mhm,
hard. And it's one of those things that you just have to have faith that like there's something better out there than this.
mhm,
I know that I'm worth better,
mm,
and pray about it and
yeah,
let know that God's got you. It
yeah.
has not been, and I've been separated September. No, actually December is when I moved out. So December will be 2 years, and it has been hard. It's been up and down. The first year was a blur. I felt like I was in a fog because I
Mhm,
was just going through the motions. Let's just get through this part first.
yeah.
Um, so it is hard. I'm not saying that it's not
Mhm,
a getaway. If it's people that are your family, you don't have to be around them. If it's
mhm,
friends, you don't have to have them as friends.
mhm,
And there are ways to get out of situations when you're with somebody and you don't feel comfortable with them, or if you don't want to be with them, not necessarily even if they're not beating on you and things like that. There are other opportunities, just looking at the situation different.
mhm.
um
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. So what's next in your journey?
um Traveling, hopefully.
Oh, nice.
So I really, so my I love traveling, and that's another big reason why I became a coach too, because it gives me
Mhm.
freedom to kind of
Yeah.
move the way that I want to move. And I think that travel and experiencing different people and different cultures can only make us better people. And
Mhm,
I want to give that to my kids too.
mhm,
Um, so that's a big thing for me. But the vision that was given to me for the daily prayer. So I hope if anybody is interested that they sign up for it, that they can get it. But
mhm.
my my vision for that is to have 7,000 people subscribed to the daily prayer.
Wow.
So yeah.
Manifest it. You're doing
I'm
it
telling you
already.
what, I had somebody tell me the other day, they said, So the 7 days you can get 7 days for free. And then after that, it's $7 a month, or you can pay for the whole year and it's $52.
Mhm.
And I had somebody tell me the other day, it's easier to get one client that pays $3,000 than 10 clients that pay $100. And
Mm.
I said, watch what my God can do. Like, how are you going to sit there? Like,
Mm.
he's given this vision to me
Mhm.
because that's what's possible for my life. And for you to tell me it's going to be harder, well, this is what he's given to me. So I'm gonna run with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, continue to speak life to your dream. And
Right.
obviously, there will always be people who have their opinions.
Oh, of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can listen and learn from it, but don't let it stop you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So where can my listeners find you and support your work?
So I am on Facebook, Instagram, Linktree,
Mhm,
YouTube, and it's all under Aimey GIA, AIMEY GIA. So,
mhm. Oh, okay, that's awesome. Last question. What
yeah.
is the meaning of life for you?
Ooh, what is the meaning of life? I think experiences
Mm,
is the meaning of life.
yeah.
Because when you're gone, that's all that anybody has is
Mhm,
experiences that of you, or
yeah.
and my goal is to live in now and
Mhm,
experience
mhm,
everything that life has for me at this point in time.
yeah.
Like, it's very important for me to um, be home when the kids are off or get out of school. It's very important for me to be able to go and have lunch with them at school and do things like that. It's very important for me to just be around people that I love and experience different things with them.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, Amy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you
Thank you
for
for having
sharing your
me.
story. You're welcome. Thank you for filling my cup and blessing me with your passion and gifts. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.